work on your stress programs. That is the number one topic of awareness, recognizing that you're doing the same thing over again. It doesn't serve you. Try and make that go away. Push it into the background, whatever you have to do. De-stress your life.
You are now listening to the podcast where authors inspire listeners to become authors, the Going North Podcast. I'm your host, certified self-leadership trainer, best-selling author, and book enthusiast, DomBrightmon. And you're going to be listening to a different author that will inspire you to join the business of immortality, known as authorship. Now let the fun begin. Today's episode is sponsored by book number 2 from DomBrightmon, Stay the Course, The Elite Performer's 7 Secret Keys to Sustainable Success. It is the field guide to help unleash the elite performer that is inside of you. Cop it today on Amazon.com or heading over to DomBrightmon.com and snag it in book, ebook, and audio book, so that way you can take it on the go and get yourself on the go to your northbound success. And today on the highlight reel builder for authors known as the Going North Podcast, we got another super special, awesome human for you today, courtesy of my good buddy Peggy Williams. Indeed, that's right, indeed, because she is one of the 2 co-authors of that wonderful book, The Fourfold Formula for All Things Wellness. Indeed, and we got a doc in the house, baby. That's right, indeed, a doc in the house, because our man has practiced endocrinology for over 30 years. So my goodness, so with diabetes, metabolic, and stress management, like all of that is under his specialty list. And he also works in the energy medicine as a licensed wellness practitioner. And he also assists clients in improving their health and wellness by measuring their energy field, stress level, health status, and energy reserve via electrophotonic imaging. And my man is a father of 3 as well as a husband to 1 lovely wife. So let's give it up for the MW, the marvelous and wonderful, the one and only Dr. Markus Wettstein. How you doing today, Markus?
Very well after this introduction. My goodness, does my head still fit into the for having me here? I really appreciate it. I think I have some good news to share.
Woo! Some good news indeed. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. Because my goodness, you finally joined the business of immortality, at least for the public, anyways, outside of dissertations and all the other paperwork you have to fill out on your regular doctor duty.
Yep. This is a whole lot more fun, that's for sure.
Oh, I can imagine. I can imagine indeed.
Winner, that's for that. There's no doubt about it. The life, right? Yep, that's the way to go. And I really hope that a lot of people are going to join us in that venture, trying to find your way to enjoy life 24/7, like they say. If you work and you enjoy what you're doing, you really don't. And that's what it's all about.
Heck yeah, indeed. Heck yeah, indeed. So my goodness, as with all introductions, they're not allowed to be 173 days long, and I probably only covered, I don't know, 0.17 of what my man actually does. So my goodness, mine filling in any cavities I may have missed about you and fill listeners in on how you got to where you are today, such as your first time on the Going North podcast.
Oh, absolutely. The very first time. Not that I've listened to a few, but me, myself, and I, yes, I'm a virgin here. Well, I was born and raised over in Germany. The first 20 years of my life I spent over there. And during my years in, high school, I decided that the natural sciences were something to pursue. And I really did enjoy the ride, which brought me over to the United States for college and things like that. So that's how I started over here. And as I dove deeper and deeper, pretty much during that process, my mom came down with diabetes. And so I dove into that field. And became an endocrinologist, so specialty in diabetes and thyroid disease and lots of other hormonal ailments that people have. And yeah, I did practice this for a good long time, and I'm still at it. Not as intense as I used to be, because life teaches you some lessons, and my lesson was divorce after 30 years of marriage, and I had a little time to try and figure out why this happened and what my part of that process was, and that made me dive into the recognition that self-awareness is a necessary first step to build on everything. So my first marriage was not there because my self-development honestly sucked. And because of that, there were frictions and problems that mounted over the years. So the time, and I'm married now for the second time, the time between those marriages was time spent in self-development and awareness, basically. And, our book is basically a culmination of Peggy coming to me with this project, saying that in healthcare, a lot of things are not moving in the right direction, and there are deficiencies, and we have to try and mitigate those deficiencies. And, a lot of it has to do with personal self-awareness and recognition that maybe life can be different for you, and maybe you can work on it towards that new goal, and the new goal should be in a positive direction. Yeah.
Heck yeah. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. My goodness, my goodness. So you gotta love that wealth of wisdom right there. Indeed, that's right indeed. 30 years and having to see a loved one go through a painful experience like that. It's like, oh, all right, well, time to try to find a way to make sure this doesn't happen to any other people, or at least find a way for them to manage it indeed. So my goodness, how'd you and Peggy meet? Because y'all known each other for probably 13, maybe more years now, right?
Yes, yes, yes. When I came over here from the East Coast, I was a career man over there with the chief of the Department of Endocrinology and all that kind of stuff. And herding cats just did not work out for me all too well. So I looked for something different. And this was a community here in Colorado that is in sore need of help in this department. So I was capable of contributing something that was sorely needed. So it's a win-win situation as far as I'm concerned. So when I came over here to Colorado and took this job, Peggy was my office manager. So that's how we got to meet at the time. And she was, on the side. Well, this was a full-time job. On the side, she was also a wellness coach and was doing a lot of things that resonated with me with regards to trying to help people to overcome some of the blockages. We did some studies on how much exercise really helps and so on. And through all these projects, we both recognize that something is missing. A lot of people just can't get over a hurdle that has not been identified that blocks them from being able to progress to wellness. And so Peggy was, doing her thing. After this job, she likes it more on the beach. So she moved to Florida, sorry. And our paths crossed again when she had the idea of presenting to the world a novel idea of all things wellness, which basically includes the mind, the heart, the body, and the spirit. And the spiritual aspect of things is something that was, hijacked by religion, I would say, for the longest period of time. And now that we as scientists have more and more knowledge of things like quantum physics, we can approach this topic a lot better these days. And so it is time to fold that into the concept of all things wellness, and we represent it as a wheel. The all things wellness wheel is our concept of a full approach towards your health. If you are interested, you can try and find out what your personal block is, because we have not shied away from digging into all topics and asking some serious questions. And the people that do that in the privacy of their own home hopefully will have the honesty to self-discover and develop awareness of what is truly wrong and what needs to be addressed to be successful. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, amen to that. Amen to that. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Because, yeah, it's definitely a good project undertaken. Was honored to be part of it, indeed, especially for book number one to help spread the word and get the word out there about all things wellness with that fabulous wheel of wellness fortunes in a way.
Yes, yes,
Yes,
yes. We all have to spin it from time to time, and depending on where it lands, that's better where we ask ourselves some serious questions. Right. Yep, yep.
yeah,
But
definitely indeed.
the book is full of stories, and 30 stories, 30 authors, 30 different ways of either negotiating through some hard times or just being in the hard times and recognizing where you are. That is basically the premise of this, and then trying to link that to the wellness wheel and asking the proper questions and obtaining the proper help is are the steps that are going to help you move forward. And 30 authors, I mean, that's quite a few. And I do know one in particular that is right in front of me, who contributed to this book as well. And your story is some of, if your listeners are interested in hearing a little bit about your personal background, that is the raw material that we have encapsulated into this book. And your story is also a very important, interesting topic with regards to your personal self-awareness. Right? And you had to go through that, and you had to develop that for yourself. And look where you are. Fantastic.
Oh, yeah. That's right, indeed. Full tree swag. The growth is still happening. That's right, indeed. The growth is still happening. Indeed, indeed. And my goodness, I love the fact that there's like so many stories in there that go so deep. And I think it was in the forward you mentioned that openness was required for writing this book. So how was it for you to get probably a little more open about your stuff than you probably have before to pen your
Oh,
stories in this book?
let me tell you, before the book, I was one of the more anxiety-ridden people on the face of this planet. Okay, an interview like this would have been 100% scripted, or I wouldn't have been able to participate because you could have seen the sweat pearls coming down my and the hands are shaking and everything. Okay, so that's where I started before I recognized how many of the programs that I am dealing with on a daily basis that are running my life, how many of those are actually unnecessary and negative. Okay. They have served me in the past, maybe for a period of time, but they are tenacious and they hang on. And they give you a not so beneficial life. Let's put it that way. And through my self development and through writing this book, I was able to put on paper what was so deeply locked in there and causing blockages that just putting it on paper was cathartic, letting this stuff sort of go and yeah, put it out there for everybody to read. And if everybody reads it and they find some funny things in there, all the anxieties that go along with it, so be it. I am now actually rid of it. I'm still having to deal with lots of problems, but the amount of anxiety in my life has decreased tremendously. So writing, I mean, I'm not even a natural born American, so being an author in a book was not even part of my spectrum of thinking. And so through Peggy and through, coaxing and helping me out, really working on editing, I actually managed to become an author. And that process was really changing my life, honestly. It is quite surprising, and I didn't expect it. And it's not just that I wrote my story, but I read all these stories of other people, and you start having a different attitude. How can you judge anybody? And we do that within split seconds when we meet people. How can you do that if you don't know the basics? You haven't walked in their shoes, not even a half a month. And so my attitude towards my peers, my environment, my personal family, all that has gotten a whole lot less dramatic, a whole lot more pleasurable, and enjoyable for a change. You know, how people always dread the holidays and the family gatherings. Not if you don't have all these judgments going into it. And so for me, that was a big portion of self-discovery and self-work, to stop judging other people, you know, just try and be aware of the fact that you have another human being, another life. They made it here just like you did. So, hey, kudos to them. Let's start with that. You know, what's the chance of us being here? What's the chance of us meeting? All these things should get you a little bit of an attitude adjustment towards other people. And, you know, instead of throwing your weight around that is mostly based on anxieties that are deep-seated, it's just relax and enjoy.
So I'm talking about that relaxing indeed. It's right indeed. And that's definitely a testament indeed, especially nowadays where it seems like a lot of folks' stress levels are probably higher than ever with the aftermath of the year that should not be named. And my goodness, you made it through that. We both made it through that year alive, but you as a endocrinologist, like my goodness, man, and like how was it like making it through the pandemic and conquering anxiety? Did you have bouts where you had to deal with it again, or or was it like you got the techniques now and it was basically like your martial artist is blocking a bunch of kicks?
Yeah, well, that's probably what it was in the beginning, because anxieties were riding high. Nobody knew what you had to deal with, you know? And so this thing had a potential to wipe you off the face of the planet. So we'll give it some respect, okay? And start learning your enemy and navigate the field that way. And we did. We made mistakes like everything in life. When you have to learn from scratch, you make mistakes and you get better at it. And that's what actually happened. And with regards to, you know, all the negative aspects that came out of a pandemic that we had to go through, I think we have had a lot of opportunity to learn and to understand and to recognize and to be grateful for the fact that we actually managed to get through this. Okay. Next one might be a little bit more radical. Who knows? It's just the fact that people need to hopefully get the appreciation that we are alive. Let's start with that. Okay. And then we go from there to what can we do for each other to make life a little bit easier rather than just me, me, me. You know, that is the sickness, I think, at the moment that affects most. We have to get away from the head and try and connect it to the heart. That would be step number one, as far as I'm concerned, with regards to personal development. Mind, body, and heart connection would be probably a requirement before you start delving into the spiritual aspect of it. But for some people, they have that concept already down, mind, body, and heart, all nicely connected. Let's go and investigate into the spiritual aspect of your being and see if there is a flat in your tire, in your wellness wheel. Yeah. So there are plenty of topics obviously, if you're talking all things wellness, but the newer topics are with regards to the spiritual aspect, and that's where I have currently my biggest focus.
Spiritual awareness. So that's what I'm talking about, indeed. So, my goodness, are you using any, I guess, the foundational faiths is like a wonderful religion as a like a foundational point to like point you another direction, or is it just a smorgasbord, but like borrowing from different religions? Like, how's the spiritual aspect for you?
It's, if you're talking as a scientist, you have to talk about energy. And when you're talking about energy and energy medicine and things like that, it becomes a topic of measurable quantities. And we have now sensitive uh, measuring devices, so we can uh, do testing on certain aspects. And, you know, it started off, the interest for me started off with, for instance, a study that was done at UCLA with regards to intensive care unit patients. And they were randomly assigned to a religious group to pray over them every day, and another group that was just the control group, no prayer, no nothing. The people in the prayer assigned group had better outcomes in this study. This is one of those things where science does stuff, cannot explain the reason, but it is a scientific fact. You can redo this study, and it has been done, and you notice the same outcome. So there is something here, and that something needs to be described tangible, and for me, that's energy. For other people, it's consciousness. For other people, it's God. It is an energy, a conscious energy out there, basically. And how that interfaces with us is, you have to translate meanings and blueprints, if you will, and we have to react to them. And if we don't, then we veer off the path. And if we veer off the path, it's like an ember you take out of the fireplace. It just so. Our paths are individualized, and we can do whatever we want. That's why we have personal freedom. But I think it would be good and wise to move along a path that is beneficial to us, that is outlined, that is present, because in the realm of energy, time doesn't exist. So it is a very important concept that translates to us personally in terms of things like the genetics and the epigenome, and the fact that outside influences change our genetic expression. And so we have plenty of studies that recognize that things do change dramatically. For instance, if you start meditating 15 minutes a day, okay, we have plenty of studies that show that that meditation results in an improvement in the stress hormones and other parameters that were measured. So in other words, there is benefits out of letting this energy do its thing in us and letting it help, rather than our mind overpowering and blocking everything, letting us not be in a nice flow state. Let's put it that way. That's where you know that you are in alignment with what is out there when you are in a flow state. And I don't know if I need to explain that. Flow state is basically when you recognize that all incidental things on the outside are in alignment with your purpose. So.
Beautiful indeed, beautiful indeed. So, my goodness, so what led you down that path of energy medicine? Because that ain't your ordinary path for a doctor.
I guess I always was, my background basically indicates that I never really appreciated the status quo. I'm the one who likes to push the borders and learn about new things. And for instance, my studies into epigenetics made a huge difference with regards to my attitude towards life. So, I do things that clearly benefit me. And when I see that they do, I wonder why. And that's, I guess, the scientific mind in me that says, well, let's figure out what is there. For the longest time of my life, there was no explanation for anything. Now we are breaking all of this open. And it's a fantastic time in terms of exploration of this field. And that's why I'm in it. I get stoked when that kind of stuff happens. A new frontier,
There you go, that new frontier indeed, new frontier indeed. That's right indeed. Because status quo gets boring after a while. It's like, yeah, especially when it's broken itself. It's like, yeah, let's get out of here.
That's right. That's right. And, with regards to you and your story in the book, that's pretty clear cut. You were on one path and a life event, and then you decided to explore something different in alignment, clearly, because you are now in a totally different space than you were before, I'm sure. Right?
Oh, heck yeah. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. No longer a Dalmatian. Finally became a German Shepherd. Let me stop.
I hope the bark is not as bad, right? Wagging,
Oh.
less bark.
Don't worry, the bite's only for dog food.
Oh,
So my goodness, so since you've been on a couple interviews before, is there a question that you wish you'd be asked more often when you're on these interviews?
the one question that always makes me wonder is how can we get people to appreciate their own body and their castle and learn how to take care of it properly? That is the one question that is burning, and all the healthcare industry included, everybody makes so much money of trying to show people, oh, this is the way, and this is how you lose 20 pounds and all that kind of stuff. And people are trapped in this. There's promises, and yes, some of them deliver, but the timeline involved is negligible. Okay, so you lose your 20 pounds, so a year later you've got it back. So all these things are, people have the urge to get started on self-improvement, but then they get lured into something that just doesn't fit their lifestyle, and it's not going to work. Our approach and our attempt is to take the time for self-assessment, be aware what's going on in all aspects of your life, and pick yourself something. It's like an onion, you peel one off and there's another layer, and you peel that off and there's another layer, and you know that, I know that. It is a work in progress, and it will never end until the last breath is taken. And so that's okay, because it's a fun project. Recognizing that my anxieties melted away through all of the work that I've done is so much of a motivator for me that I just couldn't let go, but trying to scream at people, here's a book, go and sit down and spend the time for yourself. Finally, do something for yourself, and do something that works, because it's all about you. This book gives you the tool to find what you need, not what other people tell you need, and they make money off of that stuff. It's BS, Anyways, that's I guess that's where you're starting to get me stoked, right?
Well, good deal, because a couple points you brought up that were very important. One, the timeline all being jacked up, because it's so true. Like, there's so many diets, it feels like almost every 2 to 3 years there's some new fangled diet that gets repackaged or renamed something else. I know the keto diet was something really huge, which apparently was just like a Atkins diet with a different name. And
That's right,
of
Rick.
course, the time, it's just the timeline of, you're so right. It's like, oh yeah, you lose the weight, the 20 pounds in a year, but it's like, what happens the following year when you get it all back and then some? It's like you got to climb the darn mountain again. It's like, what the heck? And just helping folks to have that mindset of truly seeing their body as a temple. So my goodness, so what's helped you to have that mindset for yourself, and that can maybe even help your patients to develop that mindset of, hey, keep your temple clean. Make sure you be like the Buddhist monks and make sure the landscape is immaculate.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, for me, it was a divorce after 30 years of marriage, as the starting point for me to say, hey, wait, stop. This is not working. you know and for other people, like many of the stories in the book, it is a serious life event that jolts them into recognizing that, whoa, I have to wake up. What is this? I have been just doing the robot thing here for most of my life. Something is awfully wrong. And when you start recognizing that something is awfully wrong, you ask yourself some questions like, what is wrong with me? Why is this? And then sometimes you recognize it's you, and sometimes you recognize, holy smokes, this came from my parents. It's genetically transmitted. It's not my fault. I see that a lot with obese people that develop diabetes. I mean, my office is full of people that are in that predicament. Now they try and do work on their weight, over and over and over again, and it's a yo-yo. And we know from research that if you yo-yo diet all your life, you die younger. You're putting your body through way more stress than if you would have been obese the whole time. It is sad, but that is unfortunately the truth. The stress from a diet that is not made for you is going to cause stress in your body. For instance, then, if you are stuck in this cycle and you've been forever frustrated from this, there are now fields in terms of epigenome studies, for instance, that can give you answers. They are very individualized to you. For instance, does your metabolism not allow for proper zinc transportation? That has consequences, and it's unique to you. At any diet that you would try is not going to work unless you identify that deficiency and you work with it. So it is a warning sign to people not to get frustrated over getting lured into something that is prefabbed or that sounds like the best diet that ever has been brought out. I mean, there are people out there that study all the diets that have been out there. I mean, generally speaking, the Mediterranean won out here, just as a final punchline here. But the point is that even if you follow that diet, it might not work for you. That's where individualized wellness comes in. That's where the wellness wheel is going to dig in and then very likely point you in the direction where you can actually start to mitigate your personal issues. Sounds interesting, sounds fun. It's a lot of work, not for us, but for the person that is willing to jump into this. This is not for the faint-hearted, okay? And this is not a quick fix. This is something for life. But only if you approach it that way will it work for life.
There you go. Good deal indeed. That's right indeed. My goodness. So, speaking of for life, there's probably going to be some nourishment required on the journey of life. So, the wonderful book, The Fourfold Formula for All Things Wellness. If that book were a food, what would it be and why?
For me, it would be Nutella because I'm addicted. I have been addicted to Nutella all my life. That stuff came out of Europe. When I first came over to the United States, that stuff wasn't available. I had the worst withdrawals that you can imagine. Now they have advertisements everywhere for this stuff. Now that's foodstuffs. Yeah, it is a tremendous topic. And so, like I say, individualized foods are the way to go. You have to experiment, you have to enjoy, you have to recognize that your body is relying on you feeding it the proper nutrition. It has to do with awareness, like you said. The first step here is always awareness. You have to in your portion of the book, in your story. Awareness is what it's all about. Yeah. So
That's
sorry,
what I'm talking
no
about.
specific diet. For Nutella. Mm,
Funny enough, I think you're the first person to actually say Nutella would be the book.
it's pretty
And
nice.
yeah, I've asked that question at least probably 200 authors so far, and nobody said Nutella to my memory. I don't think
Yeah.
anybody said that. So yeah, you're the first one, man. You're definitely the first out of the other authors in the book.
Well, I'm glad I could create some new avenues to explore. Not that other people, please don't get hooked on that stuff. It's all
It's a trap.
it is. Oh goodness, goodness. Other people have other vices, smoking, alcohol, you name it, and now marijuana here. Um, it's it, we all crave dopamine, right? I mean, that's our feel-good hormone. And what triggers that is, what we got exposed to for the first time, and then we stick with it, sort of thing. And so and we have to consider that fight, and that is one of the longest lasting fights. My Nutella fight has been all my life, and it is still present. That stuff shows up. I spoon it at night. I wake up. Anyways, I'm digressing. I'm sorry. Oh boy.
Served that right, folks. If you want to distract Dr. Marcus, just have some Nutella lying around somewhere. Just leave a trail of it. Just have random jars of it, just leading to a random trap door. It's like, all right, we got him. Time to get all of his secrets.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. How long does it take me to get the secret out of the patient, right? What is their secret? Where are they? And how can we make it better? And with me, it's an open book now. Just bring me a jar of Nutella and I'll shut up. Or you'll just see me chewing. Oh, goodness. All right.
It'd be funny if one of your patients actually heard this interview and then show with a jar of it on the next visit.
Yeah, right. Right. I shall let you know if that happens. You're the first one that I send an email. Okay.
Uh, good. That means the mind control is working. All right, good. That's right indeed. Supply Dr. Marcus with Nutella. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. He'll make a sandcastle out of him. Let me stop.
Oh my goodness. Yes, yes, yes. That will cause my early demise, death by Nutella.
I forgot the author's name who made these mystery novels based off of sweet treats and desserts, but that should be another. It's like, yeah, Death by Nutella or something like
That's
that.
it. That's it. Maybe, who knows? Now that I'm an author.
There you
It's
go.
a catchy, it's much better than the fourfold formula for all things wellness. It's kind of like, a little difficult. But then again, the topic is difficult, and we figured, yeah, if you really show interest, you'll chew your way through the title, and then you'll chew your way through the book, and you will actually be able to move in the right direction. Yeah.
Heck yeah, indeed. Heck yeah, indeed. So, my goodness, coming down to the magical question that every guest gets to receive, and that is if you don't wake up tomorrow and you're 25 again, but you're still in 2023, what advice would you give to yourself?
Work on your stress programs. That is the number one topic of awareness, recognizing that you're doing the same thing over again. It doesn't serve you. Try and make that go away. Push it into the background, whatever you have to do. De-stress your life. That's what it's all about. This day and age, I do believe that is the most devastating disease that has not even gotten the name attached to it. I see a patient and ask the insurance to pay for stress management. Unfortunate, because we all know that we are in a society that dishes out a lot of stress 24/7. And if we can't take time off for ourselves, and like I said, meditation, which by the way includes for me prayer, okay, it's a huge topic. that type of start would be a commitment, a New Year's resolution, whatever you want to call it, to get the process going. De-stress your life.
Yeah, that's right indeed. That's right indeed. That stress program. Get on it. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. Get on it. That's right indeed. Get on it like a bull rider. That's right indeed. Like a bull riding champion, I should say. That's right indeed.
All right.
That's right indeed. If there's a bull out there named Stress, you know what happened.
Well, time to make some Rocky Mountain oysters.
With some extra Nutella. Let me stop.
That might be an interesting recipe. Who knows? But I'm not Rocky Mountain oysters. No, every time that word comes up, I'm just kind of like, having a little bit of a stomach upset. But, got to take the bull not by the horns, So,
yeah, that's right indeed. That's right indeed. Because that means the bull might be horny. Let me stop.
Not if somebody enjoys the Rocky Mountain oysters. It's too late for that. Oh, goodness.
Well, before we go any deeper into that wonderful realm of hardness, folks need to keep up with you and all that you do. So for those of you to do just that and more, what's the best way for folks to get in contact with you and keep up with your journey, my man?
The best place to go to is allthingswellness.com. That is the website that we have established. And on that, you can see if you are interested to become an author, for instance. We have book 2 and 3. Book 2 is just about done, so there might be some places available if you have a story to tell that is important, that will very likely change other people's lives. And that is another aspect of us being open like that. The openness invites other people to do the same, and that helps with all kinds of aspects, including stress reduction. So that's where we are, and that's where we shall go. So allthingswellness.com. And if you want to become an author, you can go there. If you want to write me or Peggy something, that will all be available on that website.
That's what I'm talking about today. Heard that right, folks. Gonna put links to all those things in the show notes. That's right, indeed. If you yourself want to take an opportunity, a chance to join the business of immortality, do just that. Shoot Dr. Markus a message or shoot Peggy Williams a message, indeed. So, hey, I want to try to be in the book, want to join the business of immortality. I don't feel like writing a whole book. Like, help out.
Story to share. Absolutely. We want to hear from you. That's for sure.
Yes, indeed. They want to hear from you. Indeed. That's right, indeed. So do just that, folks. So any parting words before we close up shop, my man?
Well, the parting, again, I really appreciate the opportunity to tell people about this. And I hope that a lot of people are going to stay well or become well. If they need to go there, grab the book and start working.
If you're hearing this part of the episode, that means you're one cool individual. Thanks a bunch for tuning in, and if you enjoyed what you heard, be sure to share it with at least one other person in your network. Bonus points for 3. And be sure to check out the backlog too while you're at it, because there are hundreds of wonderful episodes to choose from as well.